It was found in a cave that had been sealed for over 100,000 years. And it didn't belong to any species we know. In 1932, deep in the dusty badlands of northern Morocco, a team of French geologists stumbled upon what should have been a routine fossil dig. Instead, they uncovered a human-like skull, elongated, symmetrical, and shockingly advanced in structure. The problem? The sediment it was found in dated back nearly 300,000 years, predating Homo sapiens by over 150,000 years. No tools, no bones, just this one skull. And it was like nothing they'd ever seen. At first, scientists tried to dismiss it. An error in carbon dating, perhaps? A misidentified animal skull? But one by one, the usual explanations began to fall apart. The cranial capacity was larger than modern humans. The bone density suggested full adulthood. And most unsettling of all, the skull bore evidence of healed surgical modifications. Perfectly drilled holes and symmetrical ridges, almost as if its owner had undergone cranial procedures far beyond our known technological timeline. The site was quickly closed. The skull was shipped off to a private lab in Paris. And for decades, nothing more was said. But whispers continued. In classified memos later leaked by retired researchers, references were made to anatomically anomalous pre-human remains and unexplained cognitive indicators. In one internal memo from 1957, a French anthropologist allegedly wrote, "If this specimen is authentic, then we have to rewrite everything we know about the origin of intelligence." And this wasn't a one-off. Across the globe, from the submerged ruins off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, to the megalithic mysteries of Göbekli Tepe, evidence has emerged suggesting that our prehistoric past may not be as simple as the neat timelines in school textbooks. Instead of a steady climb from ape to man, these clues hint at something more disturbing, something cyclical. Advanced civilizations rising and falling, buried under ice, drowned beneath oceans, forgotten by time, and deliberately erased from history. In 1961, another unexplainable artifact was discovered, this time in a South African gold mine, nearly 2 miles below the surface. It was a metallic sphere, perfectly round, with grooves etched so precisely that modern instruments struggled to replicate them. The layer it was found in, estimated to be over 2.8 billion years old. It defied everything: archaeology, geology, metallurgy. Some tried to dismiss it as a natural geofact. Others quietly admitted it may not have been from this version of civilization. How do we explain it? Is it possible that humanity is far older than we've been taught, living through forgotten eras, erased by cataclysms so complete that only fragments remain? Or are we simply misreading the evidence, projecting imagination onto coincidence? But the questions won't go away. Why do pyramids appear on nearly every continent, even though the civilizations who built them supposedly never met? Why does every ancient culture, Mayan, Sumerian, Egyptian, reference a time before time when gods walked among men, bringing knowledge, fire, and structure? And why do we find so many ruins that seem too perfect? As the skull sat locked away in a forgotten drawer in Paris, a growing number of fringe researchers began connecting the dots, warning that our planet may have hosted intelligent life long before us, perhaps not even human life. But if that's true, what happened to them, and why are we only finding the pieces now? The skull was only the beginning, and what came next would challenge not just science, but the very foundation of what it means to be human. A temple buried for over 12,000 years was unearthed, and the carvings on its walls appeared to predict a comet strike that wiped out nearly all life on Earth. In 1994, archaeologists digging in the arid plains of southeastern Turkey made a discovery that should have rewritten history overnight. Beneath layers of untouched sediment, they uncovered Göbekli Tepe, a sprawling megalithic complex older than any pyramid, older even than agriculture itself. But the most shocking part? The people who supposedly built it shouldn't have existed. Mainstream history claims that in 9600 BCE, humans were primitive hunter-gatherers, roaming the wild without permanent homes, writing, or architectural knowledge. Yet here stood massive T-shaped stone pillars, some weighing over 50 tons, arranged in intricate circular enclosures and carved with elaborate reliefs of animals, celestial symbols, and something far stranger. One pillar, dubbed Pillar 43, depicted what looked disturbingly like an astronomical map. According to a group of astrophysicists who studied the stone, the symbols aligned perfectly with a specific date in our sky, 10,950 BCE, the estimated time of the Younger Dryas impact event, when a sudden climate catastrophe struck the planet, triggering floods, fires, and mass extinctions. The implication? Göbekli Tepe's builders may have not only witnessed that event, they encoded it into stone. How could hunter-gatherers do that? How did they know celestial alignments? Why would they bury the entire site deliberately, preserving it in pristine condition, as if they knew it needed to survive? The answers remain elusive. But Göbekli Tepe was only the first crack in the dam. In Bolivia, the ruins of Pumapunku reveal interlocking stone blocks cut with precision rivaling modern laser tools. In the Indian subcontinent, the Hastinapur flood legend describes a civilization so advanced that its cities lit up with energy and its skies swarmed with flying machines, vimanas, long before such technology was supposed to exist. And then there's the repeating pattern: catastrophe, collapse, silence. It's as if civilization builds up, achieves greatness, and then vanishes, leaving behind only impossible relics. Mainstream academia still clings to the gradual development theory of human progress. But beneath that facade lies a growing tension. Renegade archaeologists, astronomers, and even former military scientists are quietly whispering what may be the greatest suppressed truth in human history. We're not the first advanced species to walk this earth, not even close. Perhaps we're just the latest. And with every buried monument, every out-of-place artifact, and every ancient myth, the veil thins just a little more. But Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a message from the past. It may have been a warning. Because if there was a civilization before ours, one that saw the comet strike, one that marked it in stone, then the question isn't just who they were. It's why they wanted us to remember, and what they knew was coming next. Every continent has the same haunting memory of a great flood that drowned the earth, but none can explain how cultures oceans apart told the same story. From the ancient Sumerians to the Hopi of North America, from the Maya of Mesoamerica to the Aboriginals of Australia, the myth is always there. A sudden, violent deluge, a world-ending storm, and a chosen few who survived to rebuild. We were taught to believe these stories were metaphors, symbolic tales of hardship, punishment, or renewal. But what if they weren't allegories? What if they were memories? In 1997, oceanographers studying the Black Sea uncovered a submerged shoreline, complete with stone tools, hearths, and signs of agriculture, 300 feet below the current water level. Sediment analysis revealed something stunning. Around 5600 BCE, seawater from the Mediterranean had rushed in through the Bosporus Strait in a cataclysmic surge, flooding over 60,000 square miles of land in mere weeks. The event was so violent, the freshwater lake transformed into the saltwater sea we know today. It was real, it was sudden, and it fit the timeline eerily well. Then came discoveries off the coast of India. In 2002, sonar scans near the city of Dwarka revealed long-lost structures, walls, steps, even grid-like patterns resting beneath 120 feet of ocean. Radiocarbon dating of artifacts recovered nearby placed the site's last days around 9,500 BCE, matching the exact time frame of the Younger Dryas disaster and the theorized comet impact that decimated ancient ecosystems. Suddenly, the stories of floods were no longer myth, they were geological fact. They left behind dead civilizations. But what kind of civilizations? The Sumerians, who gave us the first known written language, claimed they were taught by those who came from the heavens, bearded, glowing beings who arrived after the flood. The Egyptians spoke of Zep-Tepi, the first time when gods ruled on earth before the great waters consumed everything. Even Plato insisted that Atlantis wasn't fiction, but a real landmass that vanished beneath the sea, swallowed in a single day and night of misfortune. If there were once global seafaring cultures, if they built the pyramids, mapped the stars, and passed down astronomical knowledge that still baffles us today, why do we find no trace of their cities? Because water is the perfect eraser. Unlike land ruins, sunken cities decompose, crumble, vanish. Tectonic shifts submerge coastlines. Coral reefs grow over foundations. What survives is fragmented, misplaced tools, oddly cut stones, myths, carved into cave walls. But if you dig deep enough, the patterns emerge. Over 200 sunken sites have been identified worldwide, some beneath the Caribbean, others off Japan, and even near Cuba, where sonar scans picked up what appeared to be symmetrical pyramidal structures, nearly half a mile beneath the waves. The Cuban government blocked follow-up expeditions. Why? Are these ruins the remnants of a forgotten epoch? An age of humankind not destroyed by time, but by something else. And if flood myths are actually memories passed down over millennia, how many more truths have been buried in story? The sea didn't just swallow their cities, it silenced them. But the silence is breaking, and now, piece by piece, the voices of a drowned world are rising once more. In 1929, a dusty rolled-up parchment was discovered in a forgotten corner of Istanbul's Topkapi Palace. It was fragile, torn, but what was drawn on it would shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew about history. It became known as the Piri Reis map. Created by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, the map wasn't just centuries ahead of its time, it showed coastlines that shouldn't have been known until satellite imaging. Most disturbing of all, it depicted the coastline of Antarctica. Without ice, as it would have appeared over 6,000 years ago, long before it froze over. Modern science only confirmed this subglacial coastline in the 1950s through seismic surveys conducted by military expeditions. So how could a map from 1513 show something we only discovered with 20th century technology? Piri Reis himself claimed he hadn't made the map from scratch. He pieced it together from ancient sea charts, some older than recorded history. Other similar maps, like the Orontius Phineus and Boache maps, echoed the same impossible detail. They showed land masses as they were during the last ice age, coastlines as they would have been 12,000 years ago, and latitudes calculated with a level of accuracy supposedly unknown to ancient mariners. Which raises the terrifying question: who mapped the world before the Ice Age, and what happened to them? This wasn't just an academic anomaly. These maps challenged everything from our understanding of navigation to the timeline of human exploration. Mainstream historians dismissed the idea, calling it coincidence, misinterpretation, or fabrication. But behind closed doors, some experts admitted, if these charts are authentic, they imply a forgotten civilization with global knowledge, advanced cartography, and possibly aerial perspective. It's not just about maps. It's what they connect to. Ancient texts like the Book of Enoch describe watchers descending from the heavens, teaching mankind astronomy, mathematics, and the secrets of the earth. The Dogon tribe of Mali, with no telescopes or modern instruments, somehow knew about Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye and not discovered by Western science until 1862. Where did they get this knowledge? And why does so much of it trace back to a single lost period roughly between 10,000 and 12,000 years ago, the very window when global floods, comet impacts, and the mysterious disappearance of ancient cities all converge? We're taught that history is linear, that we went from cavemen to farmers to city builders in a slow, unbroken climb. But these maps, these astronomical anomalies, these underwater ruins, they suggest something else entirely, that history isn't a line, it's a cycle. Great civilizations rise. They map the world, they chart the stars. They leave behind knowledge in stone, myth, and mystery. Then something happens, a cosmic impact, a shifting pole, a planetary reset, and it all begins again. Perhaps we are not the pinnacle of human evolution, but the reboot of a much older legacy. The maps weren't mistakes, they were messages. And somewhere beneath the ice, in the silence of sunken cities and sealed-off temples, those messages wait for someone to finally listen. They discovered a network of ancient tunnels stretching across Europe, carved with impossible precision. But the moment the media took notice, the excavation was shut down. In 2008, researchers in Bavaria stumbled upon what they believed to be an isolated, prehistoric shelter beneath a farmhouse. But what they found instead was an entrance to an underground tunnel, one that led to another, and another, and another. Stretching for hundreds of miles, these stone-cut passageways formed an intricate labyrinth far beneath the modern world. And they weren't the only ones. From Scotland to Turkey, beneath churches, fields, and cities, similar tunnels have been discovered, engineered with uniform angles, smooth ceilings, and carefully ventilated chambers. Some passages date back 12,000 years, yet display construction techniques that rival modern subterranean engineering. How were they built? Why were they hidden? And most disturbingly, who built them? Dr. Heinrich Kusch, an Austrian archaeologist who published findings on these tunnels, was swiftly discredited. His book was pulled from academic circulation. Funding dried up. The narrative changed overnight. The tunnels were reclassified as natural fissures or misidentified animal burrows. But insiders leaked a different story. Geologists working on contract with European defense departments admitted they had been called in to survey anomalous underground structures, but were forbidden to publish any results. Some even reported electromagnetic interference near certain sealed chambers, as if something inside still emitted power or a signal. And this is just one thread in a much bigger web. Atop a remote plateau in Siberia, researchers in the 1990s found enormous megaliths, each weighing over 3,000 tons, stacked like bricks, forming walls and terraces. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the stones of Baalbek, these weren't ceremonial structures. They were industrial, functional, and pre-glacial. The Russian government sealed the area. Meanwhile, satellite images from the Amazon revealed vast, geometric patterns, traces of cities older than the rainforest itself. When independent researchers tried to access the region, their permits were mysteriously denied. Entire sectors labeled as military protection zones. Why? Why are so many of these discoveries buried, literally and figuratively? In 2013, a whistleblower from a major American museum anonymously published a report alleging that dozens of artifacts, metallic tools from pre-Columbian tombs, humanoid statues with elongated skulls, and tablets with unknown scripts were hidden in underground vaults. Some had been deliberately miscatalogued. Others were outright destroyed, not because they were fakes, but because they didn't fit the official narrative. Our historical institutions are built on fragile timelines, ones that rely on clear progression, linear evolution, and orderly development. A single undeniable artifact that proves a global civilization existed before recorded history would collapse everything. Funding, tenure, national identities. It would mean our ancestors weren't primitive, but survivors. That we're not evolving toward greatness, but recovering from a fall we've forgotten. So the evidence is erased, the tunnels sealed, the reports suppressed, and those who speak out are mocked, defunded, or worse, vanish quietly from academia. But the world is waking up. Independent researchers, citizen archaeologists, satellite hobbyists, Each are rediscovering what was long buried. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. And as the lies unravel, a chilling question emerges. What secret is so enormous, so dangerous, that entire governments would conspire to keep it hidden? And if we're only just scratching the surface, what still lies beneath? We are not the first, and we will not be the last. Buried beneath layers of soil, ice, and myth lies a haunting truth that history is not a line, but a circle. Civilizations rise, flourish, reach heights beyond comprehension, and then vanish, leaving only whispers behind. And now, as our own age rockets toward its peak, the echoes of those who came before are growing louder, as if trying to warn us of what comes next. In 2017, scientists studying the Greenland ice cores discovered something astonishing. Buried within layers dating back nearly 13,000 years was a band of platinum, an element rarely found on Earth's surface, but common in cosmic objects like asteroids. This was the smoking gun for the Younger Dryas impact theory, the idea that a massive comet or meteor shattered Earth's climate, triggering floods, famines, and darkness. It was sudden, global, and civilization-ending. But what if it wasn't the first? Geologists have begun identifying other catastrophic events. Mysterious temperature spikes, magnetic field shifts, unexplained extinction waves that appear in 12,000 to 13,000 year intervals. Almost like a ticking clock, a planetary reset cycle. If true, then we are living on borrowed time, and the survivors of the last great fall, they knew this. That's why they carved messages into stone, why they buried temples like Göbekli Tepe, why they mapped the earth as it once was and as it may soon be again. In Egypt's Temple of Hathor, an inscription reads, "The stars shall fall and darkness shall reign, but the sons of light will rise once more." In Hindu cosmology, we are said to be living in the Kali Yuga, an age of destruction, decay, and forgetting, destined to end in a purifying catastrophe, after which a new golden age will begin. Even the Mayan long count calendar, misinterpreted as predicting a singular apocalypse in 2012, was never about one event. It was a cycle, one that restarts after each collapse. We are the amnesiacs of a broken timeline, children playing in the ruins of giants, and every now and then, we stumble upon their bones, their tools, their warnings. But we look away, because the truth is too terrifying to confront. That we are not as advanced as we think, that we are repeating a forgotten path, that our pride, our blind faith in progress, may be leading us straight into the same abyss. Already the signs are all around us: increasing seismic activity, pole drift accelerating, mysterious solar anomalies, and magnetic weakening. Scientists warn of potential mass extinctions, but few connect the deeper pattern. The ancients tried to tell us. They weren't gods, they weren't aliens, they were us, from another time, another cycle. And they left behind one final riddle, an unspoken plea, etched into myths, star maps, stone circles, and forgotten catacombs. Remember, because if we forget, it happens again. Perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all, that the past is not behind us, but beneath us, and the future not ahead, but already repeating. The truth of Earth's lost civilizations is not a secret waiting to be discovered. It's a warning waiting to be heard. And the clock is ticking.